Welcome to the 3-point perspective lesson, and yet again let's go through what we see here and what we have here. So first of all, let's establish what we have. So we have the eye line, which we have here. Then we have, let's make it a bit bigger, we have here. And now what we didn't have in 1 or 2-point perspective is that we have a third vanishing point. So we have 1, 2, and 3. Now what you can see is that I've created the grid below the eye line. So now we are looking things below us. And you can see that when you have created these, lines, you can create a different kind of cubes. And that's kind of like the basics of 3-point perspective. We've already covered a lot in 1 and 2-point perspective. So now you kind of like already understand the basics of how these lines work. But yeah, just following the lines to the vanishing points enable you to create the cubes. It's a good practice to create these kind of grids. And the way you create these grids are pretty simple. So let's create a grid very fast, except I will do another kind of grid. So I will do this kind of grid, give you a different kind of view. And then let's use these colors or this different kind of color. So this is basically how you create a 3-point perspective grid. Super simple. From one point to another, you just create the grid. There you go. That's how you create a 3-point perspective grid. And if I would color the cube like that, let's draw like that, you can see that we are forming a cube here. And then that goes there, and there we have it. There's our new cube. So that's it. That's how you create a 3-point perspective grid. Now when we apply, squares, cubes, rectangles to the drawing or to the grid, that's kind of like how they would look like. So you can see that we are looking yet again from eye line below, and we can see these objects, but we don't see what is under the object. We can see what is above them, but we don't see what is under them. Now then I have created a mech design sketch, and I've tried my best. Now I can see, or I can say already, that this isn't probably the best version ever of a mech using a 3-point perspective, but I did my best, and you can see a bit of the structure here, how the kind of like whole thing works. So I created this kind of like a box here to demonstrate how the mass of the mech design is going down. So that's kind of like what I intended to showcase with the box, and the box that you see here is showcasing you the kind of like the viewpoint or view where the mech is looking at. So that's kind of like the idea here. Yet again, I can say that this isn't probably the best possible design, but you can see how the whole thing kind of like goes down. And the leg, for example, is kind of like bigger here, and the whole body is bigger at the top, and the leg that goes very far to the down to the vanishing point gets smaller. So that's kind of like how perspective works. Things that are close to you, close to the eye level, they feel a bit more, closer to you. And then, except that if the object in the eye level is very far from you, then of course it's, it's not close to you, it's further away from you. But all in all, considering this object, this mech design, a lot of things happen here at the top level, so to say, and then things go down and they start to lose, they should lose detail in my mech design. There are still details at the very bottom of the leg, but all in all, details can kind of like go away, or you can diminish, you can take away, remove details when things go further away from the main thing. And then, you know, the perspective kind of like covers the idea of things going away, going further away from the viewer, so they wouldn't ask, they wouldn't feel the need for details because they are so far away from the main thing. So that's kind of like the design aspect of the drawing. And you can see the final drawing here. I've also added a kind of like a shadow color here, just to emphasize the fact that the legs are now further away from the viewer. They shouldn't be so much at the forefront or so much in the vicinity of what is important, which I think is this whole thing. And of course, when we are talking about mech designs and robots, cyborgs, humans, we are always focusing on eyes first, and then face and facial expression, and whether a person is smiling or not, and whatever is going in the face or at the face. We usually do a lot of decision making based on the information we get from the facial expression. So yeah, this mech, I don't know if it's smiling or not, so yeah, can't say anything about that. But all in all, here's the focal point, here's another one, and then 3-point perspective somewhat applied here to the drawing. Even though 3-point perspective is pretty complex in a sense, all in all, there's only 3 vanishing points, and you kind of like go from there. So yeah, that's all about 3-point perspective. Let's keep going.